Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into the madness of the highly anticipated 2026 World Cup in North America. We're going to take a really close look at the data and insights from three top football analysts, Deadball TV, Fiago, and Thogden, to see exactly where their predictions align perfectly and, well, where their brackets wildly collide.
So let's just get right into it, because the 2026 tournament is expanding to a staggering 48 nations. They'll be battling it out across 104 games. I mean, that single number totally rewrites the rulebook. It cranks up the stakes, it makes the physical toll on the players way heavier, and man, it makes bracket predictions far more complex than anything we've ever seen in the history of football.
Here's our game plan for This Explainer. We'll look at the biggest tournament ever, put a spotlight on Group C, break down tactical strengths and weaknesses, navigate the knockouts, and finally, get to the final predictions.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the biggest World Cup ever.
You know, as the Fiago channel points out, having 104 games literally makes this the biggest event in human history. Just think about that for a second. The sheer volume of matches spread across the United States, Canada, and Mexico brings unprecedented logistical nightmares. You're dealing with vast time zone jumps, drastically different climates, and just extreme, intense pressure for those host nations to perform in front of massive, incredibly expectant home crowds.
Moving on to Section 2, let's put a spotlight on Group C.
Now, in a super rare moment of complete consensus across the football YouTube space, all three of these distinct sources independently predicted the exact same top four standings for this group. Literally every single one of them put Brazil first, Morocco second, Scotland third, and Haiti fourth. Sounds simple enough, right? But if we look closer, their underlying reasoning reveals a whole lot of tension and completely different storylines.
The narrative contrast here is just staggering. On one hand, you have Brazil, who are weighed down by this intense, almost suffocating expectation from back home to win the whole thing. Then you've got fan favorite Scotland. They're trying to end an agonizing 28-year World Cup drought, and you just know they're bringing tens of thousands of passionate traveling fans with them. And finally, you have a totally resilient Haiti, finding their way back to the global stage for the very first time since 1974, despite massive, massive challenges back home.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, tactical strengths and weaknesses.
Now this is really interesting. Deadball TV actually compares Brazil's endless production of world-class wingers, guys like Vinicius, Rafinha, and Martinelli, to a literal droid factory. They just keep coming. But that incredible firepower contrasts super sharply with severe defensive frailties, especially at the right-back position. Throw in the immense pressure on their legendary new manager, Carlo Ancelotti, plus the fact that no one actually knows who their definitive starting striker is going to be, and suddenly Brazil looks surprisingly fragile.
And then there's Morocco. Look, they bring arguably the best fullbacks in all of international football, with Hakimi and Mazraoui, along with an incredibly elite midfield. They're also carrying the massive pressure of trying to follow up that historic 2022 semifinal run. But analysts are definitely worried about their glaring lack of a big physical target man up top. Plus, there are bound to be growing pains adjusting to a brand new manager after Walid Regragui's departure. I mean, if teams just sit in a low block against them, who's going to be the one to win that crucial header?
Going back to Brazil for a second, the tactical pressure goes way beyond just the current squad. For Ancelotti, the ghost of tournaments past looms huge over this team. Get this, since winning it all in 2002, Brazil has been knocked out by European superpowers in the quarterfinals in 4 of their last 5 World Cup appearances. France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Croatia, it's like a curse. The psychological hurdle of facing a disciplined European team deep in the knockouts is very, very real for them.
Meanwhile, Deadball TV points out that Scotland brings this incredibly battle-tested premium midfield to North America. Guys like Scott McTominay have literally been playing the absolute best football of their careers. But without a reliable goal-scoring striker, like a true killer number 9, they end up relying way too heavily on set pieces. Against top-tier defenses like Brazil and Morocco, analysts really fear this crucial lack of open-play goal-scoring could trigger a pretty early exit.
All right, let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, navigating the knockouts. So the absolutely crucial thing to grasp here is how this new tournament math actually works. The top 2 teams from all 12 groups automatically qualify, right? But then the 8 best third-place teams squeeze through as well. Analysts point out that this gives underdog squads a rare, massive lifeline. Basically, they don't have to be perfect. They just have to survive the group stage. And that kicks the door wide open for some unexpected, deep Cinderella runs in this crazy new 32-team single-elimination gauntlet.
But hey, what about the hosts? You'd think the home field advantage would propel them deep into the tournament, right? Well, the analysts are surprisingly pessimistic here.
Both Fiago and Thogden coldly report that despite those passionate home crowds, the USA, Canada, and Mexico are likely all going to be eliminated super early in the knockouts. They see Canada falling to the Netherlands, and the USA hitting an absolute brick wall against global powerhouses like Argentina. Rough news for the home fans, for sure.
And that brings us to the final stretch, Section 5, the final predictions.
The sheer unpredictability of this massive tournament practically broke the analysts. Get this. During a hypothetical quarterfinal matchup between England and Brazil, the guys over at Thogden were so deeply torn on who would win that they literally left a prediction up to an on-camera coin flip. I kid you not, the coin astonishingly landed in England's favor, knocking out the heavy South American favorites purely by chance. It just perfectly highlights how incredibly tight the margins are at this elite level.
And that brilliantly illustrates the massive divide when it comes to actually picking a champion. On one side, Thogden argues that France's superior squad depth, a bench so good it could practically win the tournament on its own, will just overpower everyone, crowning France the winners. But on the other side, Fiago boldly predicts Portugal will recreate their Euro 2016 magic. He maps out this wild scenario where Portugal defeats France in the final, securing Cristiano Ronaldo the ultimate prize in his final World Cup. Talk about a fairy tale ending.
So, what does this all mean? We have this totally unanimous agreement on the micro-level group stages, but complete, absolute chaos when it comes to the macro-level final predictions. As we look ahead to 2026, whose tactical roadmap do you think will actually play out? Will it be France's depth, Portugal's destiny, or will a South American superpower ultimately reign supreme? Take these insights, take a look at the brackets for yourself, and let us know where you land. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep learning.